This conference is brought to you by CodeStack, React and React Native development experts.
Hey everyone, so the topic for next 20-30 minutes for next presentation is real-time video communication with React Native and WebRTC. So before we get started on the topic, some quick introduction. I am Akshat Paul. I'm an author and a developer in this field of software development for almost 12 years now. Have built all kind of applications, mobile apps, web apps, DevOps these days. I'm also co-founder of Company 360, which is trying to change the way legal works in India, from your incorporation to your agreements, your ESOP agreements, to your intellectual property needs like trademark, copyright, patents, all with just few clicks, backed up with solid technology. You can find me on Twitter at Paul Akshat, and to know more about my technology adventures, you can have a look at akshatpaul.com. I keep it up to date. I'm always available on all the social media mediums. My DMs are open, so if you want to discuss about your next mobile app, or if you're stuck on React Native bug or a issue, just buzz me, and I'm happy to help. As I mentioned, I'm author of few books and also technical reviewer and editor for a few more. Most recently on React Native for mobile development with Apress and Ruby Workshop. So do have a look. These books are available wherever books are sold, on Amazon and everywhere else. And if you have any doubt, any queries on these topics and subjects, happy to connect and get back to you on it. These are few of previous events in the last few years where I've given a talk. Of course, React Native EU. This is my third time, and also attended it way back in live session pre-pandemic era. Some other conferences like DevOps Days, React Global Summit, RubyConf India, and you can find most of these talks on YouTube. So do have a look and learn, share with like-minded people. And if you have any inputs for me, do buzz me, and we can connect. So let's get started with the agenda for this presentation of this talk. Very simple 3 points agenda we have for this talk. What is WebRTC? What is the buzz about? Quick introduction about this project. How does it work? What are the various components of this architecture? And then how can we implement it with React Native? With React Native, we'll try to keep it simple, that everything runs on your local very easily. And my ultimate agenda for this talk is that by end of my presentation, you are comfortable with the WebRTC and can play around with it and maybe include it in your next application, some video calling or a group calling feature. So let's get started with point 1 of our agenda. So what is a WebRTC? WebRTC is Web Real-Time Communication. It does have a full form, and it's a free and open source project providing browsers, mobile applications with real-time communication via simple APIs that enable building rich, high-quality, real-time communication application which can be developed in the browser with the help of mobile platforms, IoT devices, and allow them to communicate via a common set of protocols. In layman language, WebRTC helps building peer-to-peer real-time audio video streams between 2 or more parties, and this can be achieved purely on browser. And of course, we can then use it in our mobile applications also, and other types of form factors. It's really a simple way to build these very complex group call, video calling applications. And in last few years, you must have observed that lot of applications in the browser are now available for video calling, group calling, because of the whole pandemic thing. It's pretty much now it has become mandatory to have these features, and we can see a very popular example here in this image where during a legal hearing and a lawyer was not able to switch off the filters and continued to do the group call in the filter, and did mention that he was not a cat. So this is how ubiquitous the feature of group call and video calling has become, and it has become easy for developers like us to implement this feature using WebRTC in our application. So if you are one of those who want to capitalize this work from home boom happening, WebRTC is the API you are looking for. Because this feature is, as I mentioned, has become very common in most of the applications these days, and WebRTC helps in building a peer-to-peer connection very easily between two or more parties. However, this peer-to-peer connection architecture is kind of debatable, but there are ways to solve it, because in real world peer-to-peer connection is sometimes not possible. But of course there are ways to work around it, and we'll discuss them later in the presentation. However, in our demo purpose, because we will be building everything on local, we will be having our peer-to-peer connection only. So how does a web RTC application work? So at a very high level, we all know it establishes a peer-to-peer connection, and the two parties, two devices or browser, they communicate and transfer video, audio, data with each other directly. So this is a very simplistic view of a WebRTC application, but this is not totally correct and not realistic, because how will two parties know about each other till the time they know what is their exactly location, and how will they find each other in order to start establishing this connection? So if you hear or see at a lot of places that WebRTC requires no servers and it's absolutely direct peer-to-peer connection, that is not the case. Even in our example, we will be setting up a quick server in order to establish connection further. So what is that server? The most minimalistically, we require something called a signaling server. And what signaling server allows is that it allows two parties to securely exchange connection data. But once the connection is established, the media or the data between the two parties is not touched by the signaling server. Basically, then this system becomes a peer-to-peer connection and also very secure, because now the interaction is only between the two parties. And how does a signaling server achieves this? It does this with first creating an offer which is shared by the other by the second party or the other party. It receives an answer, and then the connection is established. This offer contains information like codecs, bandwidth, IP address, but nothing related to media. The media, as you can see, number 5, which is the media that is always interacted between the browser or the devices themselves only. Hence it's very secure. So that is how a signaling server, which is the first part of WebRTC, works. But is this also very realistic, or is it possible in the real world? Let's explore that. So there is one issue with this system which we see in front of us. There is a problem right here, that in the real world, unlike the ideal world, when two parties are at distance, or especially in a corporate environment, they usually sit behind a firewall with their IPs consistently changing. Now this becomes very tough, and to establish connection from networking point of view, it becomes close to impossible. But here comes a standard framework which is called ICE that comes to our rescue, which is called Interactive Connectivity Establishment. This helps clients or peers to coordinate the discovery of their public facing IP addresses. Both the peers here generate list of ICE candidates. These ICE candidates contains IP addresses and ports. ICE then tries best to find the path to connect with the other peers. How does it do that? Using the host address, which is obtained from the respective peer or device operating system. WebRTC achieves this in the background. How it makes use of ICE is in the background with the help of a stun server, and that is what we will know next. So essentially there are two servers involved in a WebRTC system, which is a signaling server and then a stun server. So let's look at what is a stun server and how does it operate. So a stun server is basically, it has a full form too, which is session traversal utilities for NAT. But in short, a stun server is something which you are going to use most of the time while building a WebRTC application. It is a preferred choice for your signaling server also. How it works in a WebRTC connection is that it asks and also answers one question: what is the IP address? And this is essential because if we are going to have a peer-to-peer connection directly between the two parties or more, then we must have a unique identifier for each of them, and this unique identifier is the IP address. For a vast majority of WebRTC calls, a stun server is going to make this identification easily for each member and will be able to establish peer-to-peer connection. And once this connection is made, the media can begin flowing between these peers. It is simple, it is quick, and it does much of the work in most of the cases. However, there are times when stun server cannot get the job done. In that case, we do have a backup, and that backup is called turn server. So there will be are times when you cannot get a unique IP address of one or both or all the peers, especially in a very secure environment where often information is restricted, maybe a government organization or some highly secure corporates due to the firewalls, etc. And you cannot get direct IP for the peers, and it becomes impossible to communicate with communication between one peer to another, and that is the time we turn to our backup option, which is called a turn server. A turn server is it also has a full form, which is traversal using relays around NAT. What it does is that the server goes around the network address, essentially traversing the connection using relays. So when a stun server cannot establish a connection between two peers, a turn server steps in as an intermediary. It is, of course, very counterintuitive in a WebRTC connection and not ideal, since it will definitely add some latency to the call. But in case you are not able to receive a direct IP with the stun server, the only option left is no connection at all. So in that case, turn server is a good backup option. Of course, there are some points to be taken in mind. Using a turn server, of course, adds to the cost of your infrastructure. As the relaying adds more load, it's not straightforward and simple like a stun server. And the more often you use a turn server, the more traffic is directed through it, and eventually the turn server become a farm of turn servers. So using it as little as possible is a good idea, and using it like a backup is a good approach. So next is our React Native WebRTC demo application time. The source code for this application, you can find it on github.com/akshatpaul/rneu21, and you can, this is the final code, and you can check it out and maybe set it up on your local, play around. there are two parts to this application. One is the server side, other is the application, which is our client application, which will use React Native. That is our client app for our peers, which is basically in my case the emulator and our my Android device, which will connect to our server, which is a Node server. Few key packages during our installation for server side and applications and client side are Express, peer, socket ID, UUID, which we are going to use setup install on our server side, along with Morgan as a dev dependency. For our application, client application, of course, React Native is there. Beside Redux, Socket.io, we will be also using a package called React Native Web RTC. The purpose of this this module is that it really allows us to use WebRTC just how we can use it in a browser. So it really does the heavy loading for us. You can check out its GitHub repo. There's a lot of sample code available there. Even I have made a use of that sample code, and it's very helpful. Cool. Let's now check out the code on our server side. So on server side, what we are doing here is that one, of course, we are initializing Express. We are then in the first part, you see that we are generating client ID, which will be assigned to our peers. These peers will interact with /myPeer in order to get this client ID, this randomly generated ID. We are hosting this server on port 5000, and that's all. And we can run this code. To see if our server is running properly, and that's all. So our server side of things is running fine. So let's now look at the code, keep a part of the code on the client side. So here on the client side of the application, one of the most important part is using the React Native WebRTC module. You can actually refer its GitHub repo, and there is some sample code, and you can simply use the code on the right side. You see is from the GitHub repo, and you can simply use it and load it in your component did mount. The purpose here is that what React Native Web RTC is doing, that it is accessing our media device so that it can get the video, and which we can then use it through the stream in any of the boxes we can create for the group call. So simply use this code as it is, and it works fine. Next part of the client side, the key part to the on the client side application is the Socket.io and Peer.js setup. Here what we are doing is that on the left side you can see we are using the URI which is of our server, which is basically of our local machine of our Node server, which is running on port 5000, and we are using the same name as MyPeer, which is in our server side, and we are connecting to our server. And if the connection is of course successful, we'll get to know that the client is connected. We are also creating a common room ID, as you can see on the right. It has to be common because we want to create a group call and we want multiple peers to join the same room. With MyStream, we can dispatch our video stream, and with add stream we dispatch basically the stream of the peer, and then we load it on our application. So let's now run our client side application to see if it works fine. Yeah, so this will take a bit of time, so let me just fast forward this. So now we can see our build is successful. Our server is also working fine. It's connected. Our application is loaded, and on our simulator we see two streams. The top one is from my local machine, my Mac machine, and the bottom one is coming from my Android device. Due to some permission issue, you can't see the videos, but the streams are coming successfully. Also, we can see on our terminal we had console logged, and we can see data from 2 streams printed here. So that is successful. Coming back to our presentation, beside creating your own server in order to implement a web RTC React Native application, you can actually use third-party servers like Firebase, Twilio, which are highly scalable and are absolutely ready for your existing applications or any production grade applications. We are now drawing close towards end of this presentation, and I'm not sure if you are still thinking that should I try WebRTC or is it worthy of my time. But WebRTC is really spreading like wildfire, especially in this era of work from home and in this post-pandemic world where most of us are working remotely. It's getting used in very places where we never think. Of course, video calls is something we always think and we can associate with WebRTC, but it's also getting used in places like telemedicines where doctor and patient can get connected using a robot, or in drones where the video streaming becomes way easier between the hardware and the smartphone. And of course, with video calls are now becoming slowly a key feature for any application, and implementing with WebRTC is way easier, and there are a lot of benefits. You can use it and make it part of your existing application. Easily embedding with your existing application. It is secure, and its implementation is really easy. Video streaming used to be a very complex feature years ago, but now it has become really easy, and especially with this combination of WebRTC and React Native makes it really easy for us developers. So guys, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for attending my talk and joining React Native EU remotely. Hope next year we all meet at React Native EU conference and maybe hang out and jam a bit, code together at the conference. Once again, thank you so much. Stay connected and stay safe. Thanks.